You are looking live at Hollywood and Vine. I don't know.
Wow.
Little Musburger deal. Yeah. I'm Pat O'Brien, Court McConnell. Hey, Court.
How are you, buddy?
You sleep here?
I do. I sleep
Is that
here.
why the table's all messed up?
That's why the table's a little messed up.
I didn't mean that. I mean, it's screw off.
You know it.
Welcome to Everything All the Time. I am Pat. That's Court. We're here for an hour. Thomas Henderson.
Hollywood Henderson. I'm really excited about this.
One of the greatest football players ever. And who really brought? Well, I always thought that Joe Namath brought Hollywood to football, Super Bowl III. I admit that to Hollywood Henderson, but Henderson brought Hollywood to football.
He was like that guy. I mean, he created his own nickname, which is fantastic.
I know, it's 1972 or something.
Yeah, when you give yourself your own nickname, that's bold.
He played for the Cowboys, and many say he was the Cowboys, and he was a mean MF.
Yeah, well, he was part of that doomsday defense with, too tall and...
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine?
Chased by those guys?
Oh, and he was fast. I mean, I think, he started out in special teams. I think one of his first plays, they did a reverse with him, and he ran it back for a touchdown.
He was only one.
He was a linebacker.
And he was a linebacker. And if you look at pictures of him, no gear. Anyway,
yeah.
Hollywood Henderson will join us in a little bit here. We're brought to you by Effortless. I don't know why I hold this up all the time. I think people can see that. Jake, can people see that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Effortless will take all your data. We've been through this. Data. Didn't you beat up Hollywood Henderson once?
I did not beat up Hollywood.
You told me that story.
Yeah.
They'll take all your stuff and put it up on the cloud. Beyond the cloud is what they say. And they keep it safe. And they keep it encrypted. And they'll organize it, put it on all your devices. And they are a loyal follower and loyal sponsor of our show and a bunch of shows here. You like that specificity? A bunch of shows.
A bunch of shows, yeah.
You taller than me today?
I'm not.
Nice haircut, by the way. Survived another near fatal haircut.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Thank
nice.
you.
No
Thank
homo. So beyond the cloud, it's taking you above what your normal cloud situation is. But the main thing is to keep your stuff good. We have no notes, no script, nothing. And I'll tell you why we're not more famous, even though we are. Is that we don't yell enough.
We don't yell.
We were just watching. See what happens? We were just watching Dylan Madigan on CNBC.
Oh,
and everything you see on cable TV now, and I love obviously we love cable TV.
Yeah.
I like watching it, but everybody's on a rant.
Well, I think
right?
you
and
get these.
Go ahead.
I will say I agree that there are a lot of people on a rant, but a lot of people are on a rant about stuff that is. I mean, it's insignificant. They kind of rant about you've got a Republican side or you've got a Democratic side, and they're kind of yelling at somebody's behavior, but the individual. You know what I mean? This guy comes out and he lays it out that it's not.
He looks like he's going crazy.
He does because it's like
Maybe
when
is.
when you like talking to somebody and they just won't listen no matter how hard you and finally you just start kind of shaking. He just starts shaking, and I've never heard a guy go on this whole rant and describing politics, and at the end he just goes, "It's just stupid," and it's like yeah.
There's a story that when John McEnroe. Had his first tantrum at Wimbledon, and he was like Nike's first guy.
Yeah, first big guy.
And so he had that, are you kidding me thing, at Wimbledon. And John's a good friend, and he's just completely a different guy, and probably one of the greatest analysts on TV.
I think it's one of those.
Not just tennis. Analyst.
He's fantastic.
Every time I hear him, I learn something. Anyway, he had this tantrum at Wimbledon. They thought he'd get kicked out, and Phil Knight called him the next day and said, "Do that again today." And so began the rants. But I mean, everywhere you look now on TV, people are just either they're trying to get attention or they're told to get. Well, I know that they're told. You don't do that without getting fired.
Well, I agree a lot, and I think if you look Rush Limbaugh or some of these other guys, it's crazy.
You ever had this pink grapefruit?
They're not going to sponsor you.
We're fine.
But this guy is the first one I've seen in a long time that genuinely looks like he's kind of lost it. And I don't mean lost it in that he's gone nuts, but where nobody's sitting there will listen except for the one guy, Jimmy Williams, who's another CNBC guy, who just sits there, just stone-faced, and then he finally turns to him and he just very quietly says, "Yes, it's a very corrupt system."
Some of these women, some of these Trump women, that are on CNN and MSNBC, they're like I don't know. I don't know who tells him what to
Well,
say.
did you see that Trump was giving a speech in New York the other day? And he was talking about, he goes, I wrote this out, and he was going to do this whole thing about 9/11, and he called it 7/11.
No.
Yeah, he actually comes out.
It's not funny, actually.
Yeah, and it's not funny, but he goes, and all the people down there, 7/11, and he just goes into this whole thing.
Can you imagine, though, and let me give him a break.
Don't give this guy a break.
No, but let me give him all a break.
Okay.
Because you talk. Did you ever see The Candidate? With Robert
Yes,
Redford?
yeah.
And remember, he's like talking so much, he
Yeah.
just get in the car,
Yeah.
like that. So, but 7-Eleven,
7/11 that's like a big.
that's a mistake.
That's a mistake. That's a mistake. And the funny part is he doesn't really catch himself, and he goes on about this whole thing about the bucket brigades and all this stuff. But all the while, it comes off of. It's just funny if you
Did he
kind
just
of
say like
7/11.
on 7-Eleven?
He didn't say. He goes.
I don't even think Donald Trump knows what 7-Eleven is unless he owns it.
Well, he probably owns the. We're going to find out later. Probably owns the Southland Corporation, which owns 7-Eleven. But yeah, he does 7-Eleven, and it's just one of those things. And then it's kind of funny because if you were to take it out of context and take it out of that, and he's talking about all the people down at 7-Eleven, it would be funny. I think it's going to get turned. Guarantee you, Saturday Night Live is going to do something with Trump at 7-Eleven, and they're going to go to a 7-Eleven, and there's going to be a bunch of people down there working, and they're going to be supporting Trump, But
today is the New York primary, obviously. Not obviously, it is the New York primary today. A lot of delegates up. Trump's got an enormous lead, and he should. It's his
it's his hometown.
It's his hometown, his turf. He built New York, or so he says.
Yeah,
He might even build some 7-Eleven.
I bet he did.
But I bet you there's none in any of his buildings.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I've
How
been
many
to his
times?
buildings.
How many times do you think Trump has stopped
Never.
for a Slurpee?
Never.
No,
Not unless somebody got it for him.
you don't think he's gone in and done a
So
little Coke
Trump
cherry
should
mix?
get, but if you're watching politics today, the big thing is how much will Kasich get, and it's a delegate hunt now. It's not just about winning. Trump's going to win, and probably blow everybody away. But it's how many delegates he gets, and the Republican Party is dying to stop this guy.
And they keep
By the
talking.
way, a little late.
Yeah, a little late to kind of get in the.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, our candidate's going to be Donald Trump.
Well, and the other side of the the aisle, as they call it, is the Democratic Party, which basically they're saying it's mathematically that it's just no way Bernie Sanders is ever going to win. That it's just
he's
impossible.
not even in New York today. He's in
not-
Pennsylvania today.
Well, probably smart thing because it doesn't really matter what he does. He won by 12. He won the vote by 12%
Right.
in Wisconsin, and got 40%. And Clinton got 12 delegates, and he got 7.
I'll never look at Larry David again without
Oh,
thinking
I know.
Bernie
I know.
Sanders.
Well, it's funny too because
Literally the greatest impersonation.
one of the best
ever.
Well, it goes to show you. And there's a great thing that Bernie put out about for his own campaign with him and Mark Ruffalo.
Right.
And they do a little interview, and it's just one of those things where it's just like, again, it's just hard. I mean, I love Mark. I love Bernie. I love the burn. But the problem is that he's going against huge bucks, huge money, and
Look, you haven't seen money yet.
No.
Until the general election.
Yeah.
By the way, if you have your money on your internet, your cloud, Effortless will keep it safe. They'll have to keep your money safe. They'll keep the information
unless the
safe.
FBI hires more hackers.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
When we come back, Thomas Hollywood Henderson.
Yes.
The icon. Boy, this kid.
I'm excited.
Kid,
Well,
this guy here is like a kid when he's around Hollywood. We'll be back. It's Everything All the Time. I'm Pat O'Brien. He's Court McCowan. Back in a minute.